Hi, in this video we'll be learning how to play a game called Hidden Treasure for home practice for traditional articulation therapy. So you can see here I've just got a bunch of milk lids. You could also use like empty yogurt containers or anything you can get lots of and that are big enough to hide treasures under but still quite small. So then you see here my treasures are just cut up stickers from a sheet. Whoop, that one's a bit big, but so I'll just put them under all the milk lids. So you can have your child watch this step, just so they can see how exciting the little treasures are. And then once all our treasures are underneath, we can kind of mix our milk lids around a bit, so they forget where they are, except for that little one that keeps peeking out. So you can use this game to practice sounds in isolation at CV level, which a speech pathologist might call silly sounds or nonsense sounds, or at word level. So we'll start with in isolation. So you and your child would just take turns lifting the milk lids, and they get to keep whatever treasure is underneath. And you'll just have to ask that they say the sound in isolation every time they pick up a lid. And you yourself can model this by also saying the sound every time you take your turn. So for example, I'd be like, "Oh, I get to keep a treasure." And if your child's a bit older, to make the game more complicated, you can put the empty piece back in just, to add a little bit of complexity to the game. So if it's their turn, they'll be like, a treasure, and they get to keep it. And they only get to lift it up if they say the sound. If your child is in the early stages of therapy, you might let them lift it up at every attempt, and maybe if they're starting to master the sound, you can only let them pick it up if they say the sound correctly. And your speech pathologist will guide you on where your child is at. So the next stage is playing this game to practice sounds at CV level. So CV just means consonant and vowels, and if you're practicing at this level, you would have observed your speech pathologist doing this in the clinic, and it would just sound like th, thi, thu, tho. So words like that. So you'd be like, thu, whoop, no treasure. And your child would be thu, whoop, I get to keep a treasure. And you just keep going like this. If your child is good at remembering the sounds, you can let them pick their own silly sound. Or if they have a bit of trouble thinking of a sound, you can model it on your turn and they can just copy the sound that you say. So our final stage is playing this to practice sounds at word level. So if your containers are big enough and your cards are small enough, you could just use a bit of glue tack to stick them on top of the lids. But obviously the cards we're using today are a bit small for that. A bit big for that. So what I'm going to do is just put them all face down in a pile, and every time you and your child take a turn, before you go, you need to flip one from the pile, and that will tell you what word to say. So I'll say thorn, oh, get to keep a treasure. And your child will have a go. They'll be like, oh, same one again, but thorn, and so on and so forth. So yeah, and you can just keep playing until all the treasures are gone or all the milk lids are gone if you're not putting them back afterwards. All right, thank you. Goodbye.